Royal Rumble 2025 review, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to be talking about the Royal Rumble that shocked the world. The most unlikely winner in Royal Rumble history is Jey Uso. Some offshore, or not offshore, but European betting groups, they had him as like 60-1. I mean, this does not happen. There is not a person on earth, besides Vince Russo, that knew this was going to happen or expected this to happen. I mean, I was watching it with a group. In the final 6, we were saying, damn, this is a good 6, but probably time to get Jey Uso out of there. In the final 4, we were saying the same thing. Okay, well, they're kind of believable except for Jey Uso. In the final 2, we were saying they probably should have made this Logan Paul and John Cena because it's more believable that Paul might win than Jey Uso. Up until Cena's feet hit the floor, I did not think for a second that Jey Uso could win. The backdrop, Simon Miller. We're going to react along the way, talk about it. Let's go.
I thought it was a very fun and entertaining show. And for people that go, Simon, you saying that about everything, it's absolutely not true if you listen to my words. It was just, to me, it had the surprises, it had the uncertainty, but also some of the results were obvious, so it gave me balance, right? And I watched a lot.
I thought it was a good show. I mean, I've seen a lot of people saying that, like, Collision was better or whatever, but I thought the Royal Rumble was great. I thought, between the 4 matches, the ladder match was absolutely outstanding. Kevin Owens with a performance of a lifetime. Great match. The Women's Rumble was good. The Men's Rumble, good. Crazy ending, twist ending. Absolutely loaded Rumble. The actual participants in the Rumble, fantastic. I will say, I thought the Motor City Machine Guns match was absolute ass. And we'll talk about that when we get to it, but I thought that match was terrible.
A lot of Star Wars over
and I love the Motor City Machine Guns. Okay.
My life. I know the whole point of life is to bring balance to the force. So, of course, we'll talk about the Women's Royal Rumble overall. There was absolutely a lull in the middle of this one. There was absolutely a lull in the middle of the men's one, too. Maybe that's just the way, and maybe as I've grown older, I'm just more aware of it. I don't know. Please debate me, argue with me in the comments. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, too. But, I mean, some of the surprises here were just wonderful. I mean, even like Roxanne Perez coming in at number 3. I don't think that would be considered a major shock, but it may be for warm and fuzzy in my tum-tum, prowrestlingtees.com/Simon Miller. And the fact she went all the way to the final 2.
So I had a problem with this. I think sometimes the Royal Rumble can be to push superstars or to catapult superstars into a stratosphere that they're not currently in. When it comes to Roxanne, I thought the final 2, it would have been great to have Alexa Bliss as one of the final 2. I don't think anyone believed that Roxanne could win. And whenever that's the situation, it takes a lot of the oomph out of those spots. Whereas if you have someone like Alexa coming in, and she is, people know who she is. She's re-debuting. There probably is a thought there where it's like, well, damn. I mean, she could win. I could see that. I could see that happening. So I would have probably changed the ordering a little bit, but overall, I mean, I thought it was pretty solid. Charlotte obviously was the guaranteed winner if you're a viewer, but again, just suspending belief a little bit with Alexa, I think would have gone a long way.
Is surely putting her in a similar position to other people that have been runners-up in the Royal Rumble. Still kind of feel like maybe we're going to do a Bayley match at WrestleMania. I would enjoy that. We're planting the seeds now, although they do have that match on NXT. We'll have to wait and see what is going to happen. But that, to me, is a huge plus. Charlotte Flair coming in and winning the thing. We'll get there in a minute. And it's not a surprise, obviously, because it had been advertised. But it's still like, oh, my gosh, here we come. And number 21 was Alexa Bliss.
Let me go back to Charlotte. So if you're going to have Charlotte come in, win the Rumble, why not have her, why not keep it as a big surprise? Have her as a surprise entrant to the Rumble. Because there was really no positive to leaking, or not leaking, but there was no positive to, the promos and the vignettes and all that stuff saying that Charlotte was going to come back for the Rumble. Why not save her, have her be a surprise entrant, let her win, have it all kind of packaged up in that Rumble, and then go from there? They did the same thing previously with Cody, and I think it just I think it took away a little bit from that Rumble, was knowing that Charlotte was in it, expecting her the entire time, waiting on the music, and then it all playing out how you thought it would.
We could do a whole video on this, and maybe we will. Now, she got a massive reaction, which was wonderful to see. She's been out a long time. I think a lot of people forgot how popular she was. But in the weeks leading up to this, the dirt sheets or the rumor mill or whatever you want to say had kept reporting, they can't come to terms on a contract. And it doesn't sound like Alexa Bliss is going to be back with the WWE very soon.
The dirt sheets got absolutely wrecked the entire show. I mean, they reported that AJ Styles' foot was not healed. They reported that Alexa Bliss couldn't come to terms. So I do like that Triple H or whoever is basically thumb of the nose at the dirt sheet and either leaking bad information or what. But the dirt sheets had a horrible night.
Soon, and then she turns up. So I can only presume, and I'm guessing and I'm speculating myself, that Triple H or the powers that be and management are now deliberately leaking things out there to see, are you going to corroborate your sources? Are you just going to run this? And it does make wrestling way more interesting, because now every time you do read a report, it's like Boy Who Cried Wolf. You are going to have to go, well, I don't know whether this is true or not. And I love that, man. I always want wrestling to confuse me. Now, I didn't actually talk or pass comment on the Alexa Bliss situation, but even if I had been, yes, I know what's going on, I'm happy to hold my hands up and say, you got me, bros. And maybe that's one of the reasons she did get a bigger pop, because there's always nerds in big crowds like this. I would have been one of those nerds for sure. You do double act because you get that, it's Alexa Bliss, and oh my gosh, that stuff I read wasn't true. And Liv Morgan knocked her out as well. So that's a good subplot. That's a good side quest. For some reason, Alexa Bliss versus Liv Morgan feels like a good feud. And given that Raquel Rodriguez would be Liv Morgan's tag team partner, maybe there's somebody I'm not thinking of right now that could team up with Alexa Bliss. I don't know, but it sounds reasonable. Also thought Chelsea Green, as always, was one of the MVPs of the damn thing. I mean, she kept being put in heel positions, and all the fans are like, no, we're going to cheer. We're going to.
Yeah, Chelsea Green's fantastic. She's one of the best, not workers, but she gets the business. She understands what she's supposed to be doing out there. She's not just focused on move here, spot here, move here, hip toss, arm drag. She's legitimately working the crowd. She is very aware of what she's doing body language wise, and she's fantastic.
Cheer you. We don't care about this. And at number 30, we had the return of Nikki Bella. Now, I think you have to put a tick by that, because we have seen in the past, lots of people thought AJ Lee. I was so stuck in the middle of that one. I really
I thought it was going to be AJ at 30.
didn't know what to expect, but that's cool too, because it raises anticipations. I was much more certain about Becky Lynch, so I got that one wrong. But it meant when Nikki Bella did come out at number 30, maybe some people would have been disappointed, and you would have got a Rey Mysterio reaction from 10 years ago, whenever it was. But we didn't get that. People were just super happy to see Nikki Bella, who then decided to do press ups, which is a bit strange. And Jordynne Grace made her proper WWE debut, if you want to call it.
I'm one of the biggest Jordynne Grace stans this side of OnlyFans, and I think she is incredible. The look, her work in the ring, everything. I would put a rocket to Jordynne Grace and have her dominate. I'd put the mesh hat back on her, a la Steiner. I would have Jordynne Grace as the face of the women's division if I was in the creative room. She is so good. So good.
We'll have that. Now, she was fighting a lot of the NXT people, and I do believe she threw out Julia, or Julia threw out her. So I would have to hazard a guess. Of course, Julia was surprised too, as was Stephanie Vaquer and Jada Parker and Lash Legend. But you'd have to, if I was going to hazard a guess, which I am, that's the whole point of these videos.
Yeah, I think Jordynne will probably go to NXT, have her fair share of matches with those gals, which is fine. Like, if you're going to have Charlotte win the Rumble, get into the title picture, you're going to, there's no reason to have Jordynne Grace get lost in the middle of all that. Keep her and that whole group he just mentioned, keep them down in NXT, let them build up their own stuff, and then when it's time, bring them all up, kind of revamp that entire women's division. And I'll tell you this, the women's division is so good that they're running out of time for the Becky, Charlotte, Bayley, that whole group, because the women's division is so good that it's like, I don't really need Charlotte. I don't need Becky. I don't need Bayley to prop up this division. I'm cool with Julia and Jordynne Grace and whoever, Chelsea Green and whoever else, Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley. Like, I'm cool with that. So if they're going to do this whole Charlotte retread thing, do it now. Do it for 6 months, and then let's move on to this next crop of super talented women.
I would think that Jordynne Grace is going to start in NXT. No problem with that. You can literally do what you're doing with Julia right now. I think Julia will be on the main roster sooner rather than later. Maybe Jordynne Grace is the one to beat her or anybody else, and then she gets her licks, her whatever word you want to use. I mean, she's got a big pop here, so the main roster audience is clearly aware who she is. But you have to continually make sure that NXT is stacked. Otherwise, we'll lose this great synergy between all the brands. So that was awesome as well. And I also want to give a shout out to Nia Jax. I thought was tremendous
awesome.
throughout.
Nia is very similar to Chelsea Green, where Nia is so funny. Like she's her timing, her body language, the way she understands the crowd, like she's really good in that aspect.
All of this. She went from being funny to being dominant. You know, she was throwing people out like Trish Stratus again. There was another surprise, and that all came to what Candice LeRae and Nia Jax were doing. So are we going to do Nia Jax versus Trish Stratus at WrestleMania? I could be completely wrong, but to me, the secret sauce of a good Royal Rumble is that we can have these conversations afterwards. There have been some Rumbles in the past where, I don't know, let's just say Radiator Man wins. And you're like, oh, great, Radiator Man won, but it's kind of boring. And then you go through the whole thing like no surprises, no subplots, no side quests, nothing built for WrestleMania, and it doesn't necessarily mean we are going to head that way, but the teasers are there and the wink wink nudge nudges, and I'll take Nia Jax versus Trish Stratus. Ain't no one booing Trish Stratus over Nia Jax, although Nia Jax is becoming very entertaining, so it could happen. It could be one of those situations. Raquel Rodriguez is falling into that territory for me as well. Why'd she wear sunglasses for 5 seconds of entrance and then throw them on the floor? I mean, a few people did that. Lyra Valkyria ran to the ring wearing her IC title. Also, it was Ivy Nile that threw out Lyra Valkyria, so that's another tease. We're probably going to do something there. And you had everything with Chelsea Green and Piper Niven, which was my favourite side quest, as I continue to use that word. But we did do the same thing in the women's Royal Rumble as we did with the men's with, who was it? Drew McIntyre, Sami Zayn and Jey Uso, with your friend knocking out your friend. I don't think we're going to do Jey Uso versus Sami Zayn anytime soon, but down the line for sure. But with everything else we've talked about, I do think, given that Chelsea, the other way around, given that Piper accidentally knocked out Chelsea, that we will get to WrestleMania. We'll do that match, and it's going to be difficult. On paper, traditional wrestling booking, Piper Niven should win and become the US champion, but Chelsea Green is so popular, you won't run.
Yeah, Chelsea's so hot. I mean, you have to keep the title on her. She is, especially as you're trying to validate these mid titles with the women's division, like you're trying to validate the IC title and the US title, like you have to keep them on. I would keep it on. I would let Chelsea Green have a like honky tonk type run where you're really extending this thing out.
And the rest of Piper Niven will remain a heel. But that's just good stuff, man. We can throw that in the box and see where we get out with. And again, we got down to Charlotte Flair and Roxanne Perez. I probably told you that Charlotte was going to win. It didn't really feel like we'd heated up Roxanne Perez to that degree. I wouldn't have minded it. But then given...
Yeah, I think you kind of jumped the gun with Roxanne, having her is the runner.
What we did in the main event, it makes much more sense why we stuck to the obvious one. So let's just discuss it, because I never go on social media until I've made ups and downs. Again, that's on What Culture right now. And I do for these videos, because that way I can get a more general impression of what's going on. They're all bubbles, right? These are always small platforms, and we actually don't know what the overall conversation is, because if you are happy, you rarely go on the internet and say anything. It's much more for moaning. And some people are just so damn mad that Charlotte Flair had won. And I understand, it's very stereotypical. It ties into maybe some tropes that wrestling has introduced with Charlotte along the way. She won lots of championships when people didn't think she should. It was the same with other victories she's had. But after 1 year away, and after the rehab she's been through, and all the vignettes, and the over-the-top entrance we did, I think Charlotte is going to come out onto Raw, SmackDown, whichever show you want to put her on. I think SmackDown, taking on Tiffany Stratton, and be like, yeah, you're damn right I'm the best. You're damn right I'm going to take all these titles. Damn right. The management loves me. And I think she'll be a super duper mega heel. And I said this before on my predictions video. Now, obviously, I'm going to double down on it with the evidence I have. I think you do Charlotte versus Tiffany Stratton. I think Charlotte can win at WrestleMania. I don't mind that. But you make sure you do the extra 2 matches and you elongate this feud. And it ends with Charlotte Flair, quote unquote, passing the torch to Tiffany Stratton. And she feels like an even bigger star. And maybe we even cement this babyface turn that has happened naturally and organically. I don't have a problem with that. If it's going to benefit Tiffany Stratton.
Yeah, I agree with this. Like, I think Charlotte, kind of like what I was talking about with how good the women's division is, where Charlotte comes in and the crowd isn't stupid, right? Like, the crowd has seen Charlotte away, injured, like she's wearing the knee brace, she just kind of looks different, moves different. She's not as physically dominant anymore. And when you have Rhea Ripley and some other female dominant or some physically dominant superstars in there, Charlotte isn't the same draw or attraction or whatever. So using her as this mega heel to catapult Tiffany cool. Like, that's fine. But, man, you have to use some real kid gloves with this, because if Charlotte beats Tiffany at WrestleMania and then you wait too long, you kind of suck the winds out of Tiffany's sails when you don't have to. You know, like, she has really got herself over. She is over. She's a good champion. She can work. She has a look, obviously. All that. So it's like, do you have to go through this? Do you have to go through the whole, like, well, if Charlotte takes it, heel, maybe Tiff can chase, okay, then, you know, but does it get you anywhere that's different than right now? Like, does it really catapult Tiffany to something else, or are you just kind of wasting some time to get back to where you originally were? Same with, like, Rhea Ripley. So I'm filming this after Raw. Rhea and Charlotte had a thing where Rhea was basically like, you don't respect me, let me beat you again. We know that their WrestleMania record is 1-1. Charlotte beat Rhea for the NXT title. Rhea beat Charlotte for the main roster title. But it's like, does that do anything for Rhea? Probably not. You know, like, it's a thing. It's a storyline. Okay, I get it. Like, sure, but It kind of does have that feel of, like, Batista coming back, winning, and then Daniel Bryan, you know, having to go through Batista. It's like, I mean, sure, but I don't know. And maybe that's just more to my point of that group is kind of like wearing thin. Just like Becky, like, if Becky were to come back and Becky faces Liv or something, or Becky faces Tiffany, it's like, okay, cool, but is this really doing that much besides giving, like, a cool on paper match? Yeah, probably not. So we'll see what they do with Charlotte, but I don't think at this point it's adding as much as her name to the banner would have done in the past.
And down the line, and don't forget, WWE has 2-night SummerSlam this year, so the matches are going to feel more important. It happened, and I searched my feelings. I was like, I'm totally cool with it. And admittedly, I am certainly someone that looks on the human side of wrestling. Maybe I shouldn't do that, but I can't help it, and that goes for the good and the bad, so more for me. But that injury, I mean, she's still got a leg brace on her knee. She'd probably be like Stone Cold, right? Have to wear a Steve Austin knee brace forever. Yeah. But knowing what she did go through, having this over-the-top entry, look a bit like a playing card. There's a lot of material on that entrance wear, and then get to win the Royal Rumble before that. This was her moment, quote unquote, and now she can go back to being like, haha, I hate you all. It's totally good with it. I was totally fine with it, and it wasn't a perfect Royal Rumble by any stretch of the imagination. This was the problem with both Royal Rumbles. The music in WWE, the entrance music just sucks. Some people have really good tracks. I mean, obviously Seth Rollins is good and Kevin Owens is good, and this Rumble, Naomi stood up like a sore thumb. She's like, oh, it's Naomi. But they're either too generic or you don't know whose music is whose, which doesn't make any sense, because I know I am this person. I'm so blessed I get to watch every single wrestling product, and some people came out as like,
well, I mean, you also, when you have this many people who are this close together, they run the risk of just kind of all blurring into each other. Like, for example, Lyra Valkyria, Roxanne Perez, Valkyrie, like, they all come running out back to back to back. It's like, who is who? You know, Valkyria and Perez look very similar. Their whole style is very similar. So, I mean, even like, you know, Liv and Alexa and Jordan Grace and Julia, it's like all of them come out. It's like, okay, this is all starting to look very similar. Like, I just named, 10 people, and they're basically the same version of 2 wrestlers. So, yeah, it gets kind of, you can certainly get lost in that shuffle if you're not careful, with so many people kind of packaged the same way at the same time.
I don't know who that is. And because there were 65,000 people there, which is a tremendous gate for a Royal Rumble, and why we'll definitely get a 2-night Royal Rumble next year, there's money to be made. But you can't really see screens with people's names on it, so you can't get that reaction either. Yeah. And that's not what you want either. You want the instinctual thing. You want that reaction of, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. So that was absolutely a shame. And there'll be other elements I've kind of swanned over as well. Like people like Zelina Vega are in it, but didn't really get to do anything. We did, thankfully, get some Royal Rumble nonsense with Nia Jax pulling Zelina Vega, even though she hadn't officially entered the match. And that's what Candice LeRae, after she'd been eliminated, did with Trish Stratus too. So, huge fan of that. Don't get me wrong, it's dumb. And a non-wrestling fan can use that against you. You just have to put your hands up and go, no, I'm bang to rights here. But I like it, because that's the wonderfulness of wrestling. Like, people were all talking about, oh my gosh, maybe The Rock's going to be number 31 in the men's Royal Rumble after he used his executive powers. And rightfully so, the more sensible among you are like, well, why doesn't he just use his executive powers to come in at number 30? Because that ain't wrestling. right?
31,
That
that
can
would've
be
been
a
sweet.
correct answer. But no, I thought a really good Royal Rumble overall. Liked how we start with Io Sky and Liv Morgan, and then sort of the workers coming in, which is kind of what we married with the men's one too. And then there were a lot of stars towards the end of the thing. And again, we didn't see Becky, we didn't see AJ Lee. And I think, well, AJ Lee I don't know about, but I think Becky Lynch will be involved in WrestleMania. I do think she's re-signed with the company. So they obviously just come up with a different plan. And why the flub not? You also had that nice moment with Maxine. I have enjoyed actually the Pure Fusion Collective, the PFC, working as a unit. They then all got tossed out, which annoyed me. We didn't even see Sonya Deville's elimination, which is not good. You don't want to do that. But you had that Royal Rumble ticker too. Have we talked about that? I can't remember.
The ticker was awesome. Great element. Great production element. I think that was fantastic.
With all the information of times and how many people we have left,
Yeah,
how
that
many
was
people
great.
have come in, all of this was a great presentation.
Yeah, the presentation
and I
was-
do
was
think
really,
over the
really
last few
nice.
years, some of the Rumbles have been disappointing. I wasn't disappointed with this. In fact, I sat
this
there,
was
I
good.
enjoyed
This
it, I
was
had my
good.
cup of coffee, and I just had a good old time. And Charlotte Flair winning, hell yeah, she is a super duper whooper star. She's been out for a year. WWE want to bring her back and make her feel like a main event level person. Of course you can get mad. No worries with that. There's a comment box down there. Go mad at me and shake your fist, Simon. You're the problem. I understand. Thought it was really good from start to finish. It certainly did affect the DIY versus Motor City Machine Guns tag match because these fans wanted Rumbles. And
Difficult spot when you have a Rumble and you have another Rumble coming up and you just went through an hour-long match. Now all of a sudden you're supposed to sit through a 2 out of 3 falls match. Like this should have been packaged differently. This should not have been a 2 out of 3 falls match. The last thing you want after a long extended Royal Rumble is to now have a long extended match like this. It should have been a regular match, and it should have been about 12 minutes long, and it should have been balls to the wall, rapid, finisher, spot, and then get on out of there. That's what it should have been. Instead, it was a very grinded out, old school type of match with a lot of like technical tag team wrestling, which is fine. Just not in this situation. You had a bunch of, DIY doing like 2-on-1s, being sneaky, which took away from the machine guns because the machine guns really didn't get much offense in. So instead of getting to see the Motor City Machine Guns be just like quick, rapid, high flying, in your face, awesome, which they are, instead we saw them kind of getting corralled and kind of isolated to where they were constantly just on the back foot against this. I don't want to say dirty-handed, but like against these tactics of DIY, which is cool if it's an actual tag team match, but people didn't really want that here. They didn't want like a tag team exhibition. They didn't want to see the intricacies of tag team wrestling. They wanted to see, okay, we just saw super long, drawn-out thing. Now give me the super punchy, fast thing, and we didn't get that.
they wanted the ladder match because they knew there was going to be death in that. Listen, all these guys are so talented. They're so damn good.
Yeah, they're awesome.
And I enjoyed the first four when we kind of brought back what Sheamus and Cesaro at the bar used to do with the fake tag.
Oh, also with the two out of three, I don't think the crowd remembered or knew, because when that first fall happened, the crowd was like, "Whoa, what the hell?" And I was sitting there at my watch party, and we were all like, "Whoa, what the hell? What the hell just happened?" We forgot that it was 2 out of 3 falls. So, and a lot of the times too, like 2 out of 3 falls, if you're going to do fall, if you're going to rotate the first two, why even do it? You know, like just go straight to the sudden death, make all that, because all it does to me is it makes that first count meaningless, and no one cares because the first one really doesn't mean anything in the long run. So I thought it was a stipulation that didn't really help the match.
And then the Motor City Machine Guns hit their finish. And the ending, I suppose, on the third fall, the Street Profits turn up. They're not injured anymore. I'm sure they were. They take out the Machine Guns with their crutches, allowing DIY to hit the meat in the middle and win. And then they take out DIY, as Michael Cole literally tells us, oh, by the way, I'll explain this plot to you. It is because clearly the Street Profits have found out that DIY did attack them all those weeks ago. Now they want to be the people to take the titles off them, so they also attack the Motor City Machine Guns. I'm like, man, dudes, if that's what's actually going through you as characters, you need some help.
Probably what they should have done if they wanted this style is they should have backed this story up. And I guess I don't know if you could have because they're injured or whatever, but this should have been a triple threat tag team match for the titles. Do a triple threat tag team match, have it just pure chaos. You can do tornado tag, whatever, pure chaos, big spots, and then set up your WrestleMania match. But the way that they did it here, it was the match was too long, it was too slow, and then the ending, there was no payoff. It was bad. And like I said, as a Motor City Machine Gun fan, tough
to see a psychological professional. It just felt too convoluted for me. It felt too wishy-washy. The match is awesome, and you should watch the match. Maybe it didn't hit the levels that we thought it would do, or maybe we were just overstimulated because of the Rumbles.
You know, it reminded me of? It reminded me every time we've seen Shinsuke and AJ, or, you know, matches like that where on paper it should absolutely go, and the internet, you know, the IWC is just foaming at the mouth at the match. But then it seems like the performers get so bogged down in telling the story or making it very artistic, or, you know, an homage to wrestling itself, or showing how wrestling is pure. Like, they get too bogged down in that, and all that happens is it's like this slow plotting thing, when a lot of the time people just want boom, 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 stick in my arm. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be this beautiful, this poem in the ring. We don't need that. You know, sometimes people just want in your face go spot festivals, and which is okay too. And sometimes the other way. Sometimes 60-minute between Drew Gulak and Zack Sabre Jr. with rest holds and key locks and all kinds of stuff, and that's cool. But you got to know when and where, and this just was not it. Was the match technically sound? Was it technically good? Was it an homage to tag team wrestling? Was it, you know, like, sure. Okay, but who cares? If I want to go watch Dory Funk Jr. matches, I can. So, yeah.
And the World Championship match that we were about to see. I think the SmackDown Tag Team division is in a really good state. Obviously, there's Pretty Deadly, there's Legado del Fantasma. I'm sure there's other teams I'm not thinking about right now. But it's missing something. I don't know what that is. Maybe this weird heel turn with the Street Profits is the way to do it. It was just a little bit anticlimactic, I suppose. And then when they took out DIY as well, I was like, that's kind of like Google mapping to your own house. You haven't achieved anything. Why did you not just let this match happen and then run in and beat all of them? You can beat the Motor City Machine Guns and then defend your belts against DIY. It's just not that, it's because I'm being a bit of a hypocrite here, so forgive me. It's not like I have to believe that these characters have logical sense to them. Again, I'm quite happy with the nonsense and the shenanigans, but there's also a line to the stuff I'll accept, and this one went a bit too far. But the good news is the Street Profits must be back. I don't think we would have done that here. Otherwise, you can maybe do somewhat of a three-way, but in my dream world, we would reunite the Raw and the SmackDown tag team titles, but it's not going to happen. But still.
Yeah, I mean, maybe this sets up a triple threat at WrestleMania, and we get the Spot Festival triple tornado tag that we all want, but I hate whenever you take a match like in the Royal Rumble, you only have 4 matches. So I hate when one match is strictly a vehicle to set up WrestleMania. It should stand on its own and push the story together. And this did not stand on its own.
Really, really good match. Love the fact, once again, on the human side, to move into that part of the world, that DIY and Motor City Machine Guns, given their legacies and their histories and their careers, got to do it on a 65,000 plus stage at the Royal Rumble. That's probably blown their brains, and all that was good, but no idea where we go with this. And ultimately, when it was done, I was a bit like, yeah, I guess that was okay. Let's move on. Because it was the WWE title match, Cody Rhodes versus Kevin Owens, and this one has an asterisk too. Given the lay of the land and the feeling you had in the air, I think anyone thought Kevin Owens was going to win.
This was amazing. This is exactly what I was saying that the last match should have been. This was a spot festival, bump festival, in your face. Can Kevin Owens win? No, but who cares? Because we're watching some crazy stuff happen. It was an absolute adrenaline-filled thrill ride, and it was a crowning achievement in Kevin Owens' career. Like, it was just such a good, fun match. Word on the street is he produced most of it. Just insane. The bumps he took at the end there, the Alabama slam through the table. I thought he broke his neck. I wish they would have left him there for the entire men's rumble. That would have been fantastic. What I would have done was had him laying there on the side of the ring, and then him have his number pulled at like number 9 or something. And he had to like find his way back in the ring, get thrown out, whatever. But yeah, just really good match. They understood the assignment. Great stuff.
I'd have loved it, and I would have done a dance of joy, and I would have done a backflip, especially given who won the Royal Rumble. Are you kidding me? I probably wouldn't be making this video because I would be deceased. So I think the idea here was, well, how do we get people in and how do we take them on a joyride, knowing that Cody's going to win? And their answer was death.
Yeah, the answer was ladder match.
Absolute brutality.
Yeah.
Some of the, I think we are desensitized to some of these bumps. I really, really do. And I understand that we have seen so much, especially if you're watching all wrestling content. But the back body drop onto the ladder where
Crazy.
Kevin Owens'
Yeah,
back, the
crazy.
edge of the damn ladder smacked him in the neck, essentially. That's crazy. The Alabama slam that led to the finish, again, poor Kevin Owens' head going into the floor. When Cody was hanging from that belt and Kevin Owens gave him a version of the pop-up powerbomb, just watch Cody's body contort. Like a flipping accordion or harmonica, whatever you want to call it, when he smashes into the canvas. There was I don't know whether that blood on Kevin Owens was planned or not, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was out of nowhere blood, because
there was a whole bunch of like ladder ricocheting off, hitting them in the head. I mean, there's no way that someone didn't get a scratch or something that caused some unexpected blood.
were just hammering on each other, and you had some comedy with that tiny mini ladder where the commentator started insulting Hornswoggle. It's like, that's interesting. But it also means within kayfabe, that's what somebody did. Like, Steve, can you go set up the ladders? He's all like, how could I put a small one in there? What a dickhead he is. So someone needs to talk to Steve. Kevin Owens is my modern day go, anything he does, and his desire to wreck himself in ladder matches is just nonsense. And Cody Rhodes is special. He really is a babyface champion that acts well, and he got a bit mean here and gave him that awful cross.
Yeah, at the end there, Cody, you always wonder, like, the low-hanging fruit, or the low-hanging fruit as far as developing Cody's character is like the Homelander, super face who's actually a heel, who thinks he's doing good, but he's actually doing dastardly stuff. Like, is that where they go with Cody eventually? Do they tweak that where he's portrayed as this, like, all-American babyface, vitamins, prayers, whole milk, but actually he's dastardly and he doesn't even see it? Like, is that where we're going? Is that where that ending? Because the ending was a little bit like, okay, you're kind of okay, now you're kind of getting into heel territory. Like, you're kind of getting into too much territory. Is that on purpose? Was it in the moment? Is that where they're going? Or it's like, no, actually, Cody's just going to be the baby face, and we're just going to run with it, and that's it. I mean, either way, I'm fine with it. Cody, yeah, he is special. Cody is, I mean, if you had to build a champion, this is who you would build: Sans necktie.
Crossroads, or like a devastating crossroads, whatever you want to call it, before he did climb the ladder. It was just a really, really good, maybe it fit well into this card because it still would have been an amazing main event on any show, but because we had the unpredictability that was going to come, whereas this one was a bit more predictable, maybe it actually shone more in the semi-main event position. I don't know if that's true or not, but I do kind of think it a little bit. But it was great stuff, and it was a great WWE title match. And once again, I kind of became a bit of a loser here. I was so proud of both guys. I was like, well done, dudes. You've had a really good feud this past year or so, and now they will splinter off into their own direction. Super interesting for Cody. I still think we will go the John Cena direction. But what does Kevin Owens do? We did not see Randy Orton on this show. I was convinced he was either going to be in this or the Royal Rumble, or one of my dumb prediction videos, I put him in both because I'm an absolute loser. But I'm sure Randy will probably turn up on SmackDown and take out Kevin Owens, and then, yes, post-elimination chamber, it will be John Cena versus Cody Rhodes. Just a great match. If you have 15 to 20 minutes today, I'd sit down, I'd watch it, maybe through your fingers at some point because you are going to win. Cody Rhodes wins. Okay, the men's Royal Rumble. Never in my life did I think we'd get a surprise winner, especially taking on John Cena. Imagine.
I mean, again, like, I know Jey Uso's over, no doubt about it, but this is, even days later, I'm filming this on a Tuesday, even days later, it's shocking, absolutely shocking that they went this route, because what do you do now? You've got two titles. You got Cody, you got Gunther. Okay? Well, now you got to figure out what you're going to do with John Cena. Now you got to figure out what you're going to do with Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Logan Paul. Who's fighting who? Before the Rumble, I thought, okay, the goal is let's try and get Cena, Paul for the title. How do we get the title on Paul? You could have where, Logan wins the Elimination Chamber. He gets the title. Cena chooses Logan. Cena versus Logan for the title at WrestleMania. Cena wins. Cena gets the 17th. Okay, that sounds cool. Other side, you get Cody. Cody can take on whoever. But now Jey throws a wrinkle in that. Jey can't fight Cody. You're not going to go babyface versus babyface. Is Jey going to take on Gunther? If he is, what do you do with everyone else? Is it Logan versus Cena with no title implications? That seems weird. Is it Roman versus Punk versus Rollins in a triple threat? Okay, I guess that's cool, but is it? At some point you're thinking, well, maybe you go Roman and Seth. Okay, what do you do with Punk? There's a lot happening, and Jey Uso kind of throws a huge wrench into that, to where now you have to put him in the title match. What title does he go after? Who is he chasing? How do you get there? What's the story besides he's super over? So, I mean, we'll see what happens, but especially when you factor in who was in the Rumble, Punk, Cena, Reigns, Rollins, Logan, all these guys are easily main event, world champion, million different storylines. And the fact that none of them won and Jey Uso won, crazy. Really, really, really shocking stuff.
Than that 10 years ago, and to get, I don't know if it is a divided reaction. I think it may just be, the people that are super upset sending me messages. And because
I have seen a majority of what I've seen has been negative, which is kind of surprising because of how over Jey Uso is. But I think some of the negativity is in the WrestleMania. I think they're thinking, I don't really want to see Jey Uso and Gunther. I don't really want to see Jey Uso and whoever for the title. Is it a triple threat? Like, that feels kind of weak too. So maybe that's some of the negativity. I am kind of surprised because Jey Uso is a bit of a is a little bit of a IWC hero, and he has had a super long storied career, and it's amazing where he's got himself, and it's amazing how over he is, and all of that. But it just seems it's hard to believe, and I don't think people see the finish line, and not being able to see the finish line sometimes throws the IWC into fits.
Because I get, 30, 40, 50, 60 after a while, like, oh, maybe that is the lay of the land, but I don't care. I have to go with how I feel. We're going back to Jedi rules. Just the best. Just brilliant. Wonderful. I think, and this will be recency bias. Of course it will be. We're human beings. My favorite, and it's definitely my favorite Royal Rumble booking decision ever, I think, as I look around the room. Maybe just in general, because when John Cena, well, actually, let's wind it.
I mean, favorite is crazy. Like, favorite ever is nuts. It's the most surprising, most shocking, took the most guts, but favorite is bananas.
Back up a little bit. We'll get into all the rest of it, the surprises and such. When Logan Paul threw out CM Punk, I was so mad, right? I was so mad because Logan Paul just irks me, both wrestling and real life-wise. So, again, kudos to WWE. That was the whole point. But by this point, CM Punk had also tossed Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. They do their thing on the outside. I, like the nerd I am, have convinced myself we're going to do the triple threat match at WrestleMania, which will be brilliant. How did we not call that before? But they're out of it, and you look in the ring, you see Logan Paul, you see Jey Uso, and you see John Cena. And we're so preconditioned to go, well, of course it's going to be John Cena. It makes sense. It's a nice story. He's going to get a big pop. It sets him up for Cody Rhodes.
See, I don't think it was like, well, of course this will be Cena. I think it was more, well, there's no way in hell it's going to be Uso. Again, whenever it was Uso and Cena at the end, I was thinking, well, okay, let's figure out how they're going to get Cena. Let's figure out what the plan is here, because it ain't going to be Jey Uso, right? So, I mean, you could almost argue like it was too shocking. It was too much of a, whoa, what the hell? It was because at no point until Cena's feet hit the ground did I think this was going to happen, could happen, how's this going to happen, whatever. 0 point. And maybe, if you could go back, maybe you see it through a different lens, but I mean, this is probably more shocking than Roxanne Perez throwing out Charlotte. It's absolutely insane what we watched.
Cool. And while Jey Uso, of course, could win the Rumble, it's not something we're used to. And again, we are human beings. We do fall into a patterns. John Cena then clotheslines Logan Paul so hard over the top rope, I laughed a little bit. Okay, that's bad on me. Schadenfreude is not a good thing. I have these moments. I do deserve that. Again, look, I punish myself. Terrible thing to say. When John Cena and Jey Uso then teetering on the ring apron, I'm still there. I'm enjoying it because the Royal Rumble, the fans are up.
Sure,
but I don't lack that nervousness in my tum-tum and my belly because I'm like, of course John Cena's going to win. It's John Cena.
Same.
We love John Cena. It's going to be great and it's going to feel good. So when Jey just booped him and he fell on the floor, I had a moment of like 21-1 at WrestleMania.
I was just about to say that. It was very similar to The Undertaker, where you see it happen and you're like, what? No way. Like, what did I just watch? What just happened? It almost like snaps you back into a reality. You're like, wait a minute. I must have seen something different. I must have not been paying attention because where am I now? And that's how this felt, where it's like, okay, did I lose track of what was happening? Is there someone else that's in the ring? Like, there's no way the match is over. very similar to Taker and Lesnar.
Yeah, I was like, did I just see
Which
that?
I was in the crowd
rewound it
for, by the way.
just to make sure. And the fact you have John Cena putting him over as well, man, I went crazy. That is brilliant. That's a real reaction, man. Because John Cena is John Cena no matter what you do to John Cena. And I get that sounds stupid, but it's true. CM Punk was my pick. CM Punk is CM Punk no matter what you do to CM Punk. Jey Uso right now is in a very interesting position. He's one of the most over guys in the company. He's super popular. We're yeeting. We're buying his merchandise. But WWE needs to send a message. If nothing else, say, we've heard you. We've heard you, and we're going to put him in a prominent spot. And now, even if it's not the proper main event of WrestleMania, he's likely going to take on Gunther. And given that he lost at Satellite's main event, he's probably going to beat Gunther for the world title at WrestleMania 41. That's absurd. That's wonderful.
I mean, that's insane. Like, that is insane that Jey Uso has got to this point. The Jey Uso thing is interesting because we've seen some people who get as over as Jey Uso, and it just, like, LA Knight comes to mind, where should they have put the title on LA Knight? You know, yeah, probably. He was as hot as it gets. But it just kind of fizzled. You do something else with him, whatever. The fact that Jey Uso got over, and they decide, okay, well, how about he wins the Rumble, and then how about he goes to WrestleMania, and then how about he beats Gunther, and then how about he's the world champion? It's like, damn. Whoa. Is that too much of an overcorrection? Is that too much of a, hey, we hear you? Is that too much of a, I don't know, and time will tell. I mean, it feels more, I don't know. I mean, I have some real questions about this, and it's less to do with Jey Uso, and it's more to do with the dance partner. And maybe because I just don't see the obvious thing at WrestleMania, and maybe Gunther is the obvious thing. But to me, it feels like if you have Jey Uso in a triple threat, it's a disservice to his Royal Rumble win. What does that end look like with him at WrestleMania? How do you build that up? How do you make that something? Because if you can't make that something, then it kind of discredits the decision to make him win the Rumble. Because you certainly could have used the Rumble to make something out of Cena, Logan, or Orton, or Punk, or Rock, or any of these other people. Like, they all could have used the Rumble to push a storyline, right? But I think you can still get to some of those. Like, you can still get to Cena, Logan. You can still get to, Cody, Cena, or you can still get however you want to do it. But it's just going to take a lot of maneuvering from now to WrestleMania.
And that's brilliant. We went through 20 years of WWE where we always went with the same old. And if somebody did get some momentum behind it, we ignored it. So to give Jey Uso the Royal Rumble, I don't care what happens from this point out. He can ride that all the way to the Money Bank. And to the people messaging me going, oh, he wouldn't be over if he didn't have the entrance or say yeet. He has the entrance and he says yeet. You can't take things away from his arsenal. That's like saying CM Punk wouldn't be very good if he wasn't good at promos and coming across like a real person. He does all these things. I've said this since I used to work in video games. Everyone goes, that Batman game wouldn't be very good if Batman wasn't in it. Batman is flipping in it. And the whole point is you look at Batman and go, wow, he has this array of things we can use to make a great game. Let's lean on it. And with Jey Uso, you go, wow, this guy's got a load of things we can lean on. Let's turn him into another major superstar.
Yeah.
Once more, if you want to go nuts at me and say, Simon, you don't know what you're talking about and it's despicable, you have this platform, Mum and Dad, it's great to see you, but I think it's brilliant and I think it's great. And even if we had done this with somebody else that I wasn't as in love with, it's just over the top thing to say, I apologize. I love the fact that we took a risk and we tried something new, and I want to see how it's going to play out. Here we are, right now. Does John Cena feel diminished? No, he's still flipping John Cena. He's still going to win the Elimination Chamber.
Like, if you'd have told me Matt Cardona enters the Rumble, wins the Royal Rumble, main events WrestleMania versus Cody Rhodes, it's like, okay, I can absolutely see that track. I can absolutely see how we get there. Matt Cardona was not in the Royal Rumble, right? Like, he's not even in the company. But I can see that track more than I can see the track of whatever they're going to do with Jey Uso. And that doesn't make it right. That doesn't make it wrong. But it definitely gives me that pause of, okay. Like, well, okay. I'm willing to give you the chance here. But, and one thing I've never, ever done, I don't give a shit about the human element of like, oh, well, good for Jey Uso as a person. He's worked so hard. He's done this. He's climbed the ladder. I don't care. It's a TV show. Okay, they're all actors. I don't care. You're not going to sit there and be like at the end of Grey's Anatomy and be like, man, good for this actress. You know, she started the show as a nurse and then she worked her way up to a doctor. So they're playing characters. What are you talking about? You sound insane. So I don't care about all that stuff. I'm not factoring that in at all. I'm strictly talking about the product, the show, the storylines.
And he's still going to take on Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 41. Go and listen to John Cena's promo afterwards in that press conference. He knows what he's doing. So I'm a huge...
Now, okay, so the Cena part during the Rumble and even the lead up, I kept saying, like, I'm just tired of Cena looking so hokey. Like, he looks like a dad or something that got thrown into... He looks like he's playing John Cena in a movie. Like, it was all like these crazy, outlandish facial expressions, and you know, he was like, even in the Rumble, he like would point to outside of the ring and then point back to inside of the ring. He was always jumping around, looking all excited, like he shouldn't be there. And it's like, I want more of the badass John Cena, you know, from 2005. I want more of the old school Cena. I don't want this goofy Cena. And his promo after the Rumble kind of hinted at, like, okay, maybe I was going about this the wrong way. Maybe I was going about this like just happy to be there, whatever. Now I need to get back to my roots. So maybe that was all part of the story with him, which I'm cool with. That's good storytelling. That's great storytelling right there. I'm glad they're, you know, like making a note of that. I want to see more of the old Cena promos, and I want to see more of that. I don't want to see him smiling all over the place and looking like, you know, just pasty and pale, and like, let's get back to the old Cena for this run.
Huge fan of it. I really am. And I'm going to forget some of the surprises here because there's too much to talk about. Joe Hendry at number 15 is the most feel-good moment of the entire year. Again, if you know his story and how hard that he's worked, and of course I was lucky enough to take him on at the TNA pay-per-view in October 2023, it blows my brain. So he must have woken up this morning and be like, what is going on? It was truly tremendous. It was truly brilliant, and you should find 5 minutes today to watch the whole thing, especially because Joe decided, again within the realms of kayfabe, I'm going to try and take out Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns throws him out. The Jacob Fatu booking was just brilliant and made me happy.
Yeah, Fatu's incredible. I mean, I say it every time he's on TV, but he's such a better Solo Sikoa. It's insane. He is a superstar.
Happy and put a smile on my face. AJ Styles being back. Oh, the moment you had John Cena, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns and everybody else in that match looking at each other, I was like, we need to enjoy this because it's probably going to be 20 plus years before you can even get away with doing something like this again. It really, really did feel big time. Yeah. And even Logan Paul getting all the heat he did for number 30. I was so angry because I forgot he was in the Rumble. So I was like, who's going to be 30? And it was him. I was like, oh man, that guy. So even though it may tie into some of my real feelings, at least it gave me an emotional response, which is what wrestling is really good at. Now, there are criticisms here. Drew McIntyre being thrown out by Damian Priest, brilliant. If you want to do Drew versus Priest at WrestleMania, I'm fine with it, but it just was so anticlimactic. There's that word again. Drew McIntyre's been on fire, man, and I was a little bit like, oh, something didn't seem to add up there. I know there's a bunch of rumors going around. I'm not going to tie into them until they've been sort of cemented, because what did we talk about with Alexa Bliss? Let's be clever. I also thought Shinsuke Nakamura was kind of just there. He's meant to be the US champion. But the flip side to that is, once again, Jacob Fatu was absolutely amazing. Tied into everything from Saturday night's main event with Braun Strowman. Don't mind that, but it did tell me that Jacob Fatu probably
the best moment of the Royal Rumble, and he hasn't got to it yet, I'm sure he will, was Speed and Braun Breaker. That was by far the most entertaining part of the Rumble. Speed's whole entrance and whatever, getting in there, the spear was insane. Maybe the craziest spear I've ever seen. Braun Breaker's a star. And man, I tell you what, too, this is a different video for a different day. Logan Paul, Speed, Bad Bunny, these guys who are coming from that content creation world into wrestling, they get it, man. They get the audience, they get the character, they get all that stuff. And because they're so used to it. You know, like you get these NXT guys or these guys from the indies who get to the show, and they're great wrestlers, but they don't get it. They don't understand how to deal with the audience. They don't understand the show. They don't understand the characters, and they get washed out. These content creators or musicians or whatever, however you want to frame them, if they can physically do it, and Bad Bunny, Logan, Speed can physically do it, Pat McAfee, they are really good. Really, really, really good. I mean, we saw the Costco guys in AEW look fantastic. So kudos to Speed, kudos to Logan, kudos to everybody who does this and makes the crossover. But it shows you like there's an untapped world there for WWE. I remember before, we're talking like 15 years ago, the untapped place was like the NFL. Okay, you get NFL flunkouts to go to the WWE, or Olympic flunkouts, UFC flunkouts, whatever. Now I think the content creator space is where you're going to get superstars, because they're just so good at the entertainment side of the business.
We should have just won the damn thing to begin with. Logan Paul also threw out AJ Styles, so I suppose we may be heading in that direction. Maybe he's taken on AJ Styles. I find it difficult to remember who Logan Paul has actually feuded with, but Again, it definitely lulled, because at one point you had all these megastars looking at each other. You had to calm down for a little bit. Maybe you didn't, I don't know. But I really enjoyed myself. And it was the small things as well. Drew McIntyre would sort of storm around the place going, oh, I hate you, I hate everyone. And Sheamus at one point went and yelled at Jacob Fatu going, why did you get rid of Joe? Why did you attack Joe Hendry? I was enjoying the stupid skits that he was doing. So, I had a really good time. And I think even if it had been badly booked, getting Jey Uso winning would have sent me crazy anyway. I probably should have filmed myself and done one of those reaction videos that people think are fake. They're always on Twitch. Oh, that's not real. Mine definitely was real. And it was early in the morning, so people probably got woken up by me, and now I'm going to be yelled at later. But overall, I had a tremendous time with this Royal Rumble. I did. And a lot of it, of course, is right now because I'm buzzing about Jey Uso winning. But I just love the fact that Jey Uso won the Royal Rumble. Main event Jey Uso, even if it doesn't properly main event, is going to become real at some point. Yeah. I enjoy his matches. And I know people keep bringing up the WrestleMania 40 match with Jimmy Uso. Wrestlers are allowed to have disappointing matches if that's
bad match.
How you see it. Like, you can find anybody right now who has a championship, who's at the tippy top of the card, and they'll fall into that as well. I even talked about Sami Zayn. No idea what's going to happen there. Again, is Jey Uso going to win the title and Sami Zayn beat him for it? I actually think that's the seeds we planted. That's what I thought after I remembered that and I saw Jey Uso go out. So I'm hugely, hugely interested. And I like the iShow Speed stuff as well. Say we like about Speed, again, just watching it from an entertainment level. I thought Tozawa being in it was nuts because he hadn't declared. And then Triple H is deciding, you're the nearest person, you be in it. But it was a spear by Braun Breaker, who also had a tremendous Royal Rumble. That spear off with Roman Reigns.
Yeah, Braun, it's time to go ahead and make him an absolute superstar.
It's made me so damn happy. But he got flattened, and then he got thrown out the Royal Rumble, and Otis just tossed him into the announce table. That guy got absolutely murked. I genuinely hope he's all right, just from a concerned parent point of view. Not his parent, you know what I'm talking about. But I like the men's Royal Rumble. I did.
I don't know if this is a real background, but it is absolutely pissing. I mean, I don't know if this is his apartment or whatever, or this is a green screen, but man, it is. I mean, there needs to be a flood warning or something.
I had a really, really good time. But maybe I've missed something, and maybe I'm off here. Just drop me a comment below and make sure you do it with all of that. But overall, it's a huge 2 thumbs.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, look, I thought it was good. I thought the Royal Rumble was good, and I'm not even that big of a Jey Uso fan. Like, I'm not saying that because it's like, man, my favorite wrestler, the guy the guy who I think is the most over, like, he got it, hooray. Not really, and I'm not even that big of a fan of Charlotte right now. So the fact that those two are the winners, and I thought it was still a good Rumble. The only below average moment was DIY and the Motor City Machine Guns. But overall, I thought it was great. And I'm excited to see where we go. And the road to WrestleMania is here. So get on down in the comments below. Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching. And I'll see you in the next video.